Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson is an ordained Centers for Spiritual Living minister serving the Center for Spiritual Living Greater Baltimore community as our spiritual director. He has frequently been referred to as a Renaissance man and visionary New Thought leader. As a lifelong learner with a passion for self-development, personal transformation, transmutation, and transfiguration, he lives his bliss as a teacher, minister, author, visual artist, ASL performing artist, mentor, father, grandfather, and more by giving people applicable tools and practices to enable them to live a more fulfilled life, recognizing, realizing, and materializing their full divine potential. His mission is to live, move, and be an active member of society who serves to educate, elucidate, and emancipate people and communities to awaken and empower themselves. ACTIVE is an acronym that stands for authentic, compassionate, transparent, inspired, vibrant, and empowered. I give you Reverend Dr. Ray.
Namaste and greetings, everybody. Happy Sunday. So, as you've already heard from Frank, today we are talking about this idea of proving it. So, let's just dive on in. How does one get to Carnegie Hall? You may know that old joke. By practicing. How does one demonstrate a principle? By proving it. How does one live spiritually? By practicing and proving it. Our organization is called Centers for Spiritual Living, not Centers for Spiritual Navel-gazing, right? Living requires active participation, application, and practice. Life is an experience that must be experienced. So here at CSL, we practice religious science. Science asks that we prove principles. So let's prove it, shall we? You ready to dive in? You ready to prove it? You ready to prove it? You sure you're ready to prove it? We shall see. So, the purpose of Science of Mind, according to the Science of Mind textbook, page 448. The whole purpose of the science of mind is to reconcile the apparent separation of the spiritual world, which must be perfect, with the material world, which appears imperfect. Now, just breathe that in, because that right there, that's a whole month-long seminar just right there. Separation and the appearance of, yet there is that which is the truth of. So there is an apparent separation, and yet the spiritual world is perfect, and what we are is that spirit. We are of that quote unquote spiritual world. So there is the truest part of us that is perfect. And yet within the material world, we can identify many things that are far from what we would call perfect. So breathe. The spiritual world is the cause of the material, meaning it's back of it. The spiritual stuff is the template. It is the blueprint by which all matter takes form. We are spiritual beings governed by mental law. Now, when you hear that mental law, what may come to mind is the Kabbalion, where it says the universe is mental, right? There is only that mind. There is one mind, and that mind is God. Then what? Only that world can appear to us which we mentally perceive. We have a mind to perceive it. Each person's experience is the logical outcome of their inner vision. Their horizon is limited to the confines of their own consciousness. So that's where we get the idea, as it says in the Bible, be it done unto you as you believe. You know, as you thinketh in your heart, as you believe in your spirit and your being, then as your consciousness, then will be your experience. Wherever this consciousness lacks a true perspective, an effective perspective, its outward expression will lack proper or effective harmony, because it's going to be in harmony with something, whether it's in harmony with lack or in harmony with abundance and prosperity, in harmony with illness or in harmony with health and well-being. It's going to be in alignment with something. This is why we are taught to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. Since no one lives by proxy, each person must do this for and unto themselves. Every individual must make the test in their own soul, their own life, their own being. Do it, right? Shift our consciousness. Ask ourselves, is it an opinion? The stuff that Frank talked about, is it an opinion? When Tracy said prayer works, is that an opinion or is it a fact? Science of mind and spirit, is it opinion? Just theory? Or does it have factual basis? If it has factual basis, then the question is, can you prove it? What I do is a demonstration of what I believe. If I believe that there are people out to get me, then I'm going to live in a certain manner which demonstrates that fear. Now, whether people are actually out to get me or not isn't the point. And my belief in it might not like create it, but if I believe it, if I am paranoid, if I, whatever it is, and I believe it deeply enough, then it's going to show up in the way that I move throughout life. It's going to show up in my behavior. It's going to show up in my relationships. What I do, how I act, how I show up is a demonstration of what I believe. And this works for all of us. Breathe, because sometimes that's an uncomfortable thing to recognize that our actions are based upon what we believe deeply. Ernest Holmes says, one of the greatest difficulties in the new order of thought is that we are likely to indulge in too much theory and too little practice. It's easy to talk about being aligned, being healthy, being prosperous, being joyful. It's easy to talk about, it's easy to theorize. How do we change the world? How do we improve, race relations? How do we demonstrate greater equity in the justice system, in politics? It's easy to theorize about that. It's a little more challenging to actually put it into practice. But that's exactly what we are called to do within this teaching. Even the title of what licensed practitioners, they practice principle. All ministers within the CSL movement first have to become practitioners before we can become ministers. It's a practice. And whether you have a license as a practitioner or not, do you think? Then you're practicing. Do you have a belief? Then you're practicing. Do you do anything? read, eat, cook something? Do you do something? Then you're practicing. You're demonstrating. You're creating. Breathe. So Paulo Freire says liberation is a praxis, the action and reflection of men and women upon their world in order to transform it. Liberation is a praxis. So what does that mean? Praxis. Praxis means a practice, something that is distinguished from theory. It is an accepted practice or custom. Now, this idea of liberation. So he's saying liberation is a practice, not a theory. Liberation is a practice. It is being customary to the idea of freedom, justice, equity, emancipation, which takes us directly to what Ernest Holmes said in our Declaration of Principles. We believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete emancipation from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. Do we practice it, or do we simply recite it? Is it a custom for us to embody this, to bring it into our lives, into our relationships, into our interactions, or simply to theorize about it? Ernest Holmes goes on to say, I would rather see a student of this science prove its principle than to have this student repeat all the words of wisdom that have ever been uttered. Think about, there are a great many people who can quote whatever scripture from whatever tradition, whether they are quoting from the Quran, quoting from the Talmud, quoting from the Bhagavad Gita, quoting from the New Testament, quoting from the Science of Mind textbook. There are a great many people who can quote. And Holmes is saying, I would rather see a student prove it than to simply spew the words. Walk the talk. Don't just talk it. Don't just talk the talk. Walk the talk and walk the walk. Be about it. Right? That's the idea. Be about it. Don't just tell me in flowery words, and show me. Let your actions speak louder than words. So let's go back to this idea of praxis for a moment. Practice or discipline for a specific purpose. So I'm not simply waxing on and waxing off just because it's fun. And even if it was because it's fun, the purpose is for enjoyment. So be mindful. I am engaging in this practice so that what? For what outcome? I am engaged in this exercise called meditation. For what purpose? I engage in this action called bike riding. For what purpose? I am taking this class on visioning. For what purpose? What is the specific purpose? What is the reason I am doing? What is the reason that I am acting in the way that I'm acting? And keep in mind, how many times have we said to someone, Tracy, why are you acting that way? What are we actually saying? What is the purpose? What is the reason for those actions? What is the belief that is causing those actions to be enacted? We are being invited into a deeper level of self-awareness to identify the practice for the specific purpose, the exercise for the specific purpose, the action, the doing for a specific purpose. Why a world that works for all? Why blessing bags? Why tithing and donating? Why this class or that workshop? Why read this book? Why write this book? Why? What is the specific outcome that I desire to experience as a result of. It's all connected. So let's pause and breathe for a second. What is a tipping point? The general definition is the critical point in a situation, process, or system beyond which significant and often unstoppable effect or change takes place. So imagine, so here's a domino and there's a string of other dominoes. I can tap it and it doesn't move. But if I tap it and it starts to tip, sooner or later, and it may just rock back. But if I tap it and it hits that tipping point where now gravity forces it to continue on its own tipping point. You're going up the roller coaster and you hit a point where, because the thing pulls you until eventually gravity now pulls you. The chain doesn't need to pull you. You pray and you pray and you pray and you pray until now, tipping point. It's your default setting. Meditation, calmness, alignment, being grounded is your default setting. Now, there are a variety of ways and things that people talk about this concept of tipping point. Because of the manner in which we are destroying the planet, we are reaching a critical mass. The end is near. Yeah, that's an option. If that's the mantra you choose to ground in and be aligned in, that's up to you. But recognize the idea that where you are putting your energy is affecting your life. And because there is only one life, it's affecting all of life. Your beliefs affect me. And think about that, because you may think, well, no, they don't. But think about the manner in which the laws of the land in the Jim Crow South, those laws enacted by a certain group of men affected the entire culture and society to such a degree that even now in the year 2022, we are still deeply entrenched in Jim Crow 2.0, the new Jim Crow in many ways. So don't think that thoughts don't shape or change lives. Breathe. Malcolm Gladwell has a book called The Tipping Point, where he says the tipping point is that magic moment when an idea, a trend, or a social behavior crosses the threshold. It tips and spreads like wildfire. What if that idea is a world that works for all? What if the trend is compassionate communication? Spreads like wildfire. Just as a single sick person can start an epidemic or the flu, so too can a small but precisely targeted push, prayer, meditation, Reiki, alignment cause a fashion trend, the popularity of a new product, the drop in a crime rate, the spread of equity and justice, the eradication of racism, sexism, and homophobia, etc. Rather than, because we say, just as a sick person can start an epidemic, a single well person, a single whole, complete, and recognized person can start an epidemic of love, of joy, of laughter, of oneness, of unity, so that shows up in social media and in fashion and in function of how we live, move, and have our beingness as a culture and society. Ernest Holmes says, and pay special note to the number, find me 1,000 people in the world, 1,000, who know what religious science is and who use it and live it as it is and I'll myself live to see a new world, a new heaven, and a new earth here. In other words, a world that works for all. When there are 1,000, now I don't know why Ernest Holmes selected that number, but let's imagine that idea for a moment. 1,000 science of mind individuals, 1,000 of us within CSL, 1,000. That's all who know what it is, who use it, and who live it. 1,000. And then we will have a world that works for all. That beckons me to ask the question, do I know what it is? Do I use it? Do I live it? If not, then what am I invited to do? And if so, then how do I nurture and encourage others to do the same so that we hit the tipping point of 900, 995, 999, 1,000. And what did Holmes say? A new world, a new heaven, and a new earth, right here, right now. Dag Hammarskjöld says, in our era, the road to holiness necessarily passes through the world of action. See, how often have we thought that holiness was separate from being in the world and of the world? Yesterday on TikTok, I shared, while I was out walking, I shared this story where Jay Sheedy says that, he would ride the train, commuting, and the train was so chaotic that he would get off at various stops where it was quiet to ground himself in meditation. And he was telling one of his teachers, one of the senior monks, this story. And the senior monk said, is that how life is, though? Does life give you the opportunity to step out of life, to step out of the chaos of life, to ground yourself and meditate? Or does life simply go on? Meaning the invitation is right where it's chaotic, right where it's loud, right where it's noisy, practice your meditation. Right when emotions are flared, pray. Right in the midst of, anchor and ground yourself to principle and truth. You need not seclude yourself. You can do it right where you are. There is no holy place you need to go. You are the very embodiment of the universe. Right where you are is hallowed ground. Do you move from that holy space? Do you allow your holiness to pass through into the world based upon action? We understand the idea that hurt people hurt people. And that's exactly when we practice forgiveness and compassion, oneness. We ground, we meditate, we pray, because we also understand that healed people heal people. What did it say before? One sick person, epidemic, flu, pandemic, COVID. One healed person, epidemic, love, compassion, forgiveness, understanding, collaboration, communication, cooperation. One person, a world that works for all. As a practice. Paulo Coelho says, there is only one way to learn, and it's through action. Everything you need to know, you have already learned through your journey. There's an old thing that says, everything I needed to know, or everything I learned in kindergarten. In kindergarten, we learned to share, use your words, dream and imagine, believe in possibility. Right here and right now, everything you need to know, somewhere in your life, somewhere in your experience, somewhere in your journey, you learned it, you have access to it. Question is, are you now ready to act upon that information, that knowledge, that wisdom? In James chapter 1, verse 22. But be doers of the word. Be doers of principle, of truth, and not just hearers, not just those who theorize, because when you do that, you are deceiving yourself. You are simply talking about, yes, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to balance my checkbook more effectively so that oh man, I just overdraft again. I don't like when the bank keeps sending me these alerts that oh man, I bounced another check. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow's a new day. That's my New Year's resolution, even though it's June. It's a new day. So new day, new year right now. It's the end of July. It's a new day. I'm going to start tomorrow. Yes. Rather than be present right now. As soon as you identify it, change it now. The food that I'm cooking, it's burning. Oh, I'll get to it tomorrow. No, when I notice the smoke, when I smell that's when it's time. So don't deceive ourselves by simply theorizing about a world that works for all. Don't theorize about ending racism, sexism, homophobia, etc. Don't theorize about it. Be about it. Often in New Thought, we talk about it. We talk about social engagement and racial justice and stuff. We have groups in Unity, and we have groups in CSL, and we have groups in meetings and stuff, and interfaith, and we have all these things, and talk. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'll get it to you next week. Talk. I'm going to take this class. Talk. I'm going to meditate more. Talk. When does the talk become action? When do we stop going around the merry-go-round of same old, business as usual, same old? I'm on the merry-go-round, and I'm wondering why I'm not getting to work. I just passed that tree again. It's the same tree. But why am I not? It's time to get off the merry-go-round of theorized religious science, theorized new thought, and move in the direction that we desire to experience and see and have and be and show up in the world. As Pablo Picasso said, action is the foundational key to all success. All effective stewardship, all effective living is built upon the foundation of action. So what do you want to experience in life? What do you want to be, do, or have? Remember, praxis is about action, practice, and exercise for a specific goal. What do you want to be, do, or have? What action do you need to engage in order to manifest, demonstrate, create what you say you want to experience? What is your treatment plan? When we say treat, and you are moving your feet in order to be, do, have, experience what? Or am I simply moving my feet to go through the motions to make it seem like I'm moving my feet? But we know actions speak louder than words. If you look at what I do, you know what I believe and what I think. Valerie Kaur says, we become what we practice. Do I practice the magnificent art of couch potatoing? Do I practice unforgiveness? Do I practice hostility? Do I practice anthropomorphizing God? Do I practice that? Because we become what we practice. Proverbs 20, verse 11 says, even a child makes himself known by his acts, by whether his conduct is pure and upright, in other words, effective. Even a child does this. Even a child demonstrates by their action So say what you mean and mean what you say. Be about it. If you say, I believe in the oneness of spirit and that what it is, I am, say what you mean what you say, stand in integrity, meaning have the inner strength to be truthful and trustworthy, acting justly and honorably, and being consistent in words and actions. And if I say that I believe in the infinite oneness of the universe and that it is living, moving, and having its beingness as me, and what is true for me is true for all, am I demonstrating that consistency of my words also in actions? Am I in integrity? Breathe. Reverend Ray says, it's easy to think about doing something, thinking about traveling, about writing a book, about exercising is easy and can be done from the comfort of the sofa. Getting up and taking action is harder. And not harder meaning, oh my God, this is so difficult, but it requires effort. This, me sitting, all I'm doing is allowing gravity to hold me here. But the moment I choose to stand, I move against gravity. It takes effort, which means to a certain degree, it is quote unquote harder. And that requires commitment, conviction, and as I said, effort. It requires energy to do this philosophy. It requires energy to do love in action. It requires commitment, conviction, and effort. This week's spiritual practice. First, let's breathe. Journal about, think about, contemplate. What are my daily activities, actions, practices saying about what I believe? What can I do to ensure that my talk and my walk are aligned and in integrity? And then lastly, have a conversational interview once again with 4 people. Tracy, how many is 4? I can't hear. Cuatro personas about what it means for science of mind and spirit to be a praxis theology. Our motto for this year, what does it mean to you? And that's supposed to be 2022. Science of mind is about what we do. Science of mind is about what we do. Science of mind and spirit is about what we do. Breathe. And keep in mind that if you want any of the slides, for your own practice and meditation, just reach out to Tracy or I, and we will make sure you get them. You can also go to the Facebook page where this will be shared so that you can revisit it and come back to the idea of, so what is this week's practice? What am I inspired and invited to do as my practice so that I can walk the walk and be in greater integrity? Our declaration this week, I will say it first. And if you are in alignment, then say it with me on our second go round. I become what I practice. I am what I do. Together. I become what I practice. I am what I do. Breathe. Breathe. We breathe and recognize the practice called donating, tithing, offering. And once again, we say this action of tithing, donating, offering, what's the purpose? What is the reason for? As Tracy always says, well, one, because this is a business. So it's for the nuts and bolts of the mortgage for the new building, the groundskeeping, the the window, like it's all of the maintenance related and administrative stuff. It's all of the business related stuff, but it's also tithing into your spiritual community where you are spiritually fed so that we can then be a beneficial presence in the world, which means manifesting the vision for this community. You say what? What vision? The vision that, we'll get to it in a second, the vision that the practitioners are tithing into and pledging into on top of their regularly scheduled offering and tithes. $50,000 to be precise for this year. So what does that mean? It means each month the practitioners of CSL Greater Baltimore tithe their regular scheduled tithes and something extra in order to manifest and demonstrate accordingly for the vision of this beloved community. The community's matching pledge is also for that purpose of demonstrating and manifesting. And this is also on top of their regularly scheduled tithes. So we breathe and we recognize that here at CSL Greater Baltimore, our declaration of prosperity and abundance isn't just for finances. It's a declaration of being physically wealthy and abundance with health and joy and love. Physically, relationally, our relationships, joy and happiness and laughter. It's manifesting in all areas of our lives. So if you are in alignment with this, then let us declare together. I joyfully, consciously, and gratefully participate in the law of circulation. I trust in the spiritual principle that says, as I sow into my beloved community, I demonstrate my awareness of standing not only in the flow, but as the flow itself. As I sow of myself, my time, my treasure, my talent, I demonstrate my support and engagement in my community's vision, mission, and purpose. I actively give as a demonstration of manifesting, of reaping the harvest of a world that works for all. Breathe. Now, you may be wondering, how do I tithe into? How do I donate into? How do I offer into? You have 4 possible ways. And all of this info is available on the CSL Greater Baltimore website. So if you ever forget this, feel free to go to the website and get the information. You can do PayPal, Givelify, text to give, the postal mail service. You can also designate a certain portion. For example, suppose you want 25% to go to emergency care. You want 75% to go to the new building fund. Or you want 50% to go to youth and family, and you want 50% to go to general plate and pledge. Like, you can choose how you want your tithes, your offerings separate, or you can simply trust our excellent board of trustees to continue to manage and steward the resources that we have effectively. Breathe and recognize the gratitude that we feel for you being present, because you could have chosen to do anything else or be anywhere else, and you chose to be with us. So thank you for that. Feel the gratitude. Be grateful to yourself. Pat yourself on the back, on the shoulder. Just be grateful and recognize that you are awesome. You, not because specifically of anything you have done or didn't do. You are awesome because you are the universe in divine manifestation. Now, because that's what you are, now you act like it and you go out in the world and do awesome things. Breathe. So might you be wanting prayer to shift something that you're not really wanting to experience, or prayer to continue in the energy of, I feel great and I want more great and even more greater than I can even right now vision. It can be greater than that. I want some of that. If you are wanting that, then feel free to join us in the Zoom room afterwards. And once you are let in, type the word prayer in the chat box, and Tracy will be sure to put you in a breakout room with our practitioner on duty today, Frank Mastores. Otherwise, if you just want to come together and fellowship, love up on each other, say hi, how's it going? What's going on in your neighborhood? How is it? You got snow? You just want to chat, smile, namaste, give a virtual hug, then join us in the Zoom room as well. So we anchor and we ground in this realization, knowing that all that has been spoken, all that has been played on keys, all that has been meditated, all that has been signed, all that has been a visual representation on a slide, all of this is God acting upon itself. Every person present, every word typed in the chat box, all God, all good, all for the purpose of shifting consciousness, for demonstrating love, for being in this thing called the beloved community. And knowing that, I know right here and right now, this beauty, this magnificence, this joy continues to permeate the remainder of our day, no matter what. Like Tracy said, technology, you will not stop me today, no matter what. Today, we allow that love, that joy, that blessing that Robert gave us. Like we allow that, we encourage that, we nurture that is the tone and the timbre and the tune for the rest of our day and beyond. Knowing that, I allow the law to say yes, because that's what the law does. It says yes. And knowing it says yes, I know that this service as answered prayer is right now. And so it is. And now it is. Ashe, amen, amen. Much love, everybody. See you over in Zoom.